وصحبه وسلم. We begin with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, and we send salutations and peace on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, through which every single good has come down to us. Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Before we start today, we talked yesterday about sabr, or patience. And one point I just wanted to clarify. People sometimes think that if you have patience, you can't do certain things that you should do, right? Like for example, if a person loses their job, right? Now they are no longer getting an income to run their house. And if they are the only breadwinner in the house, then this is going to be a serious problem for this entire family. Now, patience does not mean that if you basically, the person says, he's sitting on the couch, you go to his house and you're like, hey, how are you doing, Muhammad? He's like, I'm fine, I'm really good. Muhammad, how come you're not looking for a job? I'm being patient. This is incorrect. Why? This is incorrect because this is not the right use of patience. Right? You are not doing sabr, you are disregarding the direct command of Allah that you need to go out and earn a living. Halal. So, by him, now let's say Muhammad is told this. Muhammad comes up to Imam Sahib and he says, Imam Sahib, you told us that Ramadan, that you have to have sabr. And I was having sabr, I lost my job, so I was having sabr on the couch. So, I would say to him what? The same thing the Prophet ﷺ said. That this does not have anything to do with your sabr. This does not have anything to do with your sabr. You can go out, look for the job, and go and work for it. And if you don't get any responses from Seek.com, you applied for 200 positions and you didn't even get one, email back or message back, then you can say yes. But you have to actually go out and actually move around. You have to do the things that a person would do to secure a job. And this is just a point of clarification that I wanted to mention. Today, basically, I've got two things down here which I wanted to speak about. One is the act of saying Basmala. Basmala in Arabic is Bismillah Rahman Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. These words. This is a feature of Islam. This is part of the identity of a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, كل أمر ذي بال لم يبدأ فيه ببسم الله فهو أبتر. Every important work that is not started with Bismillah is imperfect. Subhanallah. So this is mentioned in Al-Kitab Al-Baghdadi. Also mentioned in Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah and Ibn Hibban and others. So it's a very narrated hadith. So it is sunnah, the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, to initiate everything with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Everything. Also called the Basmala in Arabic. So every Muslim should just do this sunnah by making it the habit. Bismillah should be recited entering and leaving the house. Mounting and disembarking a travel journey. Vehicle. Going into the toilet, coming out of the toilet. If you're in trouble, your vehicle isn't working, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If you don't know the specific dua for that occasion, no worries. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You're entering, leaving. All of these things can become acts of worship. Imagine, if just sleeping became an act of worship. All you did was, you didn't know the dua for sleeping. You're like, okay, what's the default? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you go to sleep. Your entire 8 hours is now rewarded. Entire 8 hours is rewarded. So women too should say Bismillah before cooking. Before adding ingredients to the food, before taking out food, sewing, knitting, any item of clothing, when dressing a child, children should also taught to say Bismillah. Subhanallah, if we do just this one practice, imagine how many good deeds are going to come our way. If it becomes a habit, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, non-Muslims will start asking us, what's this Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? It will lead to it'll just keep tumbling down with good deeds. You know those things, especially that you don't think about. If you want to turn it into acts of worship, all you do is say Bismillah. So Muslims and non-Muslims will carry out worldly activities. Like for example, working. You work for, on average, 5 to 8 hours a day. Now most of the time, a non-Muslim is absent-minded. Whereas Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is the key for a Muslim for that entire time to become acts of worship. Imagine that. So because you affirm this, your worldly actions become what? Ibadah. They become ibadah. So now, because it becomes ibadah, you're always worshipping Allah. You know, there's an entire book written by Mufti Maulana Shafi' Usmani Sahib, which is Bismillah ke Fazail or Masail. It's extremely beneficial for those people that can speak Urdu. Read this book. It's an entire book dedicated to this, what I'm telling you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is something that I wanted to give, especially to those people that don't know all the du'as. You know, we have, mashallah, students from age 5 all the way to age 15. And subhanAllah, we teach them two books of du'as. The purple book and the light blue book. Du'a book 1, du'a book 2. And all of that can be summarized when you don't know the du'as. Of course, if you know the du'as specifically for that occasion, perfect. Recite the du'a. But if you don't know and you're starting anything, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and you'll get the rewards. The second thing I wanted to, subhanAllah, speak about was actually salam. Greeting Muslims with salam. You know, it's a sign of Islam. It's part of your identity when you say these words. Its virtues have been mentioned. In particular, what is the reward of initiating, being the first one to say salam? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the full version. A hadith states, specifically, the closest person to Allah is the one who starts the salam. He starts. How many times do you walk in the malls and someone says salam to you and you just like ignore them? Or you don't say salam at all. You know the guy's a Muslim, but you don't say it. The one closest to Allah is the one who initiates the salam. So we are not talking about just people that you know from the Taraweeh. No, the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is the best action for a Muslim? He ﷺ mentioned a number of actions are good, but to greet with salam, those whom you know and those who you don't know. This is mentioned in Bukhari and in Muslim. Subhanallah. So it is reported about Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anh, that sometimes he would leave his house only to say salam. That's it. That was the only reason. He wasn't going to work. He would just go around saying salams to people he didn't know. This is mentioned in Muwatta Imam Malik. It is also a sunnah to say salam to your family when you enter the house. The Prophet ﷺ said to his special attendants, the khadims, Anas radiallahu an, O my son, when you go to your family, say salam. It will be a blessing for you and a blessing for them. This is mentioned in Tirmidhi. Subhanallah. So this is a sunnah of coming into the house. Now imagine if you come into a house that's empty. What about then? You intend to greet the angels. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abdullah ibn Umar used to say, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin. Used to say this. Which is what? Peace be upon us and upon Allah's righteous servants. That includes the angels. This is mentioned in Ibn Abi Shayba. Very good book in Arabic. A hadith also encourages the greeting of salam to be said clearly. Don't just say salams. Hey bro, salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Best version. Now the sunnah is fulfilled if you say assalamu alaikum. That's it. But if you add wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, it's more rewarding. Imran ibn al-Husayn radiyallahu anh narrates that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Assalamu alaikum. And the Prophet ﷺ responded, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, 10. The person who greeted earned how many rewards? 10. Another man came in and said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. And then the Prophet ﷺ responded. And then the man sat down. And then he said 20. The man had earned 20 rewards. A third man came and said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Prophet ﷺ said 30. And then he sat down. He said 30 rewards. He had earned 30 rewards, 10 for each. This is mentioned in Abu Dawood and also in Tirmidhi. What a way of teaching. For the teachers that are among us, subhanAllah, look at this way of teaching. And remember, there is adab to salam. You cannot say salam at any time. If you disturb him in something more important than replying to your salam, you're doing the wrong thing by saying salam. So a person is reciting the Quran. They're doing a bayan. They're nursing a sick person. their work will be impacted by you saying salam. Now it's no longer the sunnah. Now you've done something that is against the sunnah by saying salam. I will repeat, you should not say salam to someone in certain conditions. Similarly, it is not right to say salam to somebody who is addressing a congregation, or a teacher, or someone that is listening to that which is being recited. However, if a group of people are quietly sitting down and they want to join this gathering, he should say salam once. And any person among them can respond to that salam. That's it. In this matter, the sunnah is, the obligation is fulfilled for the entire group. To initiate salam is sunnah, but to respond is obligatory, fard. It's mentioned in the books of fiqh. So if you don't respond to a salam, you're sinful. And also, if you receive a letter, it's written down in an email, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When you read it, Imam al-Nawawi writes an entire chapter on this. You need to say wa alaikum salam either verbally, okay, or you need to type it back so that he gets it back. This is actually like a brief understanding of the fiqh of just Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've tried to condense it down to just a few points. But, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, two things have been mentioned to you. Two acts of good deeds that can be an immense source of blessing for you. Number one, you should be the one to say Bismillah Rahmanir Rahim before anything that you do. If you just want to turn that whole action, you are going to, what's the park, what's the amusement park that we have, Melbourne? Luna Park. If you're going to Luna Park, okay, with your kids, and the entire day is going to be spent mostly buying them stuff from Luna Park, what do you do at the beginning? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You finish with the park, you get into the car, everyone's tired, what do? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now that entire occasion has been turned into ibadah. If you know the du'as for that specific occasion, definitely say the du'as. But if you don't know in any occasion, who knows all the du'as? Okay? So, what I want you to do is just say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Number two, and the final point is what we just spoke about. You should be the one to initiate salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, whether the person responds or not, if you can identify that person as a Muslim, okay, you should make sure that you're the one to initiate the salam. This will ensure that you are closer to Allah than the person you're giving salam to, okay? And make sure that you're not giving salam just to those people. Of course, give it, if it's your father, your brother, your sister, the brothers that you see in Taraweeh, the brothers you see in Jummah, of course, say salam to them. But especially, I want you to focus on those people that you definitely don't know. So maybe a task for today could be, before Isha, you can turn to the guy on your right and be like, yeah, you'll be praying Taraweeh with me, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's like, oh man, you're closer to Allah than me. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Practical way of initiating salam, okay? These points, my dear brothers and sisters, are not for me to just mention them, you to shake your head and say, mashallah, what a bayan, and then in one ear, out the other. Mashallah. It is there for you to practice. And the reason I'm telling you this in Ramadan is because if you initiate it now, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it permanent in you. And if Allah makes it permanent in you, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, you will find yourself with a mountain of good deeds on the Day of Judgment that you honestly didn't know who did them. So inshallah we'll finish there. We're at 9 o'clock, so we want to stick to the timing that we have. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.